The following program is brought to you by Jack Millre.
It's Down to Business with Jack Millre. Forget what they teach you in school. This is real life, not Wall Street, but Main Street. A real show on what's really involved with starting and running a business with all the ups and downs. Our guests will answer your questions and provide you with valuable information. Stay tuned and join in the conversation.
This is Jack Millre again. Thanks for staying with us. We got Todd Cohen, and we have a special guest commercial corner guy, the number one guy in South Florida, Brian Bandell. Brian, thanks for sticking with us. I appreciate it. Todd, I think you have a couple questions for Brian.
Yeah, I mean, look, if ever there was a guest to bring on to Commercial Corner, this is the one we want to have. He features every big deal that goes on in the South Florida.
Brian, how are we doing for your ego?
I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, my wife is that nice.
Look, I'd like to have more of my deals featured by you. You've done a couple of mine so far in my career. I'd like to have more. I want to tie in a little of the themes we were just talking about with your book and commercial real estate. When you get access to the buyers and sellers for your deals and for follow-up questions and talking and getting quotes, what do you find? Do you find that some of the principals in the transactions tend to be guarded and refuse to give you information? And how do you sort of react to that?
Sometimes they're open, sometimes they're not. It really depends on the personalities. Sometimes if it's a development site, they'll be very happy to announce that they want to build a new condo that's going to be for sale. Other times, sometimes they might buy it without a plan. You know, they might, I'll just buy that for $50 million. I'll think about what to do with it later. The difficult part is when the ownership interest is not really revealed. And under Florida records and really U.S. corporate records, it's very easy to hide ownership of things. So a lot of times I'll see, someone paid $15 million for a home, and it's tied to an LLC that's registered to an attorney somewhere or a Delaware corporation, and really isn't obvious who bought it. I mean, it could be someone who has a bad purpose for all we know, hiding dirty money. There's just no real way of knowing, and that's the one that's kind of frustrating for me.
Right. I mean, some of the people just could be trying to keep their name out of things so that they're not called by people like me, who tend to hound them and look to build
these aggressive real estate salesmen.
That's right. Look to build relationships with them. So we all understand what goes on. Anyway, has covering all of these deals, has it given you a little bit of the real estate investment bug yourself? Do you invest yourself in real estate?
I haven't really invested in real property. I don't know. I just don't. I guess you need a little more capital than I have. I have my investments are mostly like mutual fund type investments. I try to stay away from individual stocks so I don't have a conflict of interest as a journalist. If there's only one individual stock I own, and I'm sorry that I own it, but
Brian, that sounds like every stock I buy.
It's not one that's involved in South Florida, but yeah, I mean, I haven't really myself invested in this. Although previous real estate people for our paper have gotten into the business. Like Peter Zalewski, who used to work for the South Florida Business Journal. Now he's Mr. Condo Vulture's train spotter, and Darcy Lunsford used to be my real estate editor here, and now she's a broker with Butters. So
right.
I haven't gotten that bug yet, though.
Got it.
Do you think the expectations of the people buying commercial real estate or developers are unrealistic? For example, it used to be where real estate was a slow and steady business that you would buy and you'd make money over 20, 30, 40 years, sort of dynasty type money. Now it seems everyone wants to double their money quick. They want to pull out their equity, within a year, 2 years, 3 years, and I don't know if that's healthy for the market or not. I guess it meets investor demands. But I was just curious.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's amazing how quickly you see companies that will build an apartment building and then, boom, turn around and sell it. And a lot of times for a lot of money. I mean, you saw, Related sold its apartment building in downtown Fort Lauderdale, pretty quickly, and I'd imagine they did so because they got a really nice offer. So I think definitely people, if they can cash out quickly, they are. It's amazing to see the turnarounds people are getting in the design district in Wynwood after 3 years, and you quadruple your money. It's pretty amazing. But just because it happened doesn't mean it will continue to happen. So you have to be, a little more cautious at some point. You have to look at the fundamentals. Sometimes you might get lucky, but more or less, if you take a big risk, you could take a big loss. So you have to look at what are the fundamentals of who's going into the neighborhood and the business there.
It seems a lot of these companies, the big companies, leverage up. In fact, I'm not going to give names. Todd and I were out to lunch with someone, 2 weeks ago on an unrelated matter, and the guy was just saying they bought an office building, and they already got out. I'm going to make up a number, 2 or 3 times their equity in 2 or 3 years, and they were looking to pull more money out. So that means to me they're very highly leveraged. And I guess in a good market, that's great. But in a bad market, I assume they're going to crash and burn. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, that person tends to have enough real estate.
It doesn't matter, I guess.
It doesn't matter, but that does happen. So what are your biggest fears for the Miami and South Florida market, Brian?
With that, Brian, we got a minute left. So give us your fears in a minute.
Yeah.
I think the affordability issue is definitely a big one. They're building right now residential for the high-end sector. They're not building a lot for the average worker, or even the worker who makes like $50,000 a year. They're not really building a lot for them. So because of that, it's going to be hard for them to find housing, and the housing they do find will be far away from the urban core. So this really needs to be addressed. And the only real people to address it are probably the political people, because the developers are going to build, for as most expensive as they can, until all of a sudden they wake up one day and there aren't enough people who could pay, $800,000 for a studio apartment.
That's right.
But somehow the policymakers have to direct them towards affordable housing, and they have to have the funding mechanism to make it affordable to build.
Brian, I appreciate it. I'm sorry to cut you short, but we have to. We're out of time. I want everyone to go out and buy Famous After Death. Brian has a fantastic message. Beside his reporting, I think that the most important thing is your message of nonviolence and non-bullying. That's really critical. I want everyone to have a super great week. We got a lot of election stuff on. Todd, you have any big plans for the week?
You know how it is. To those who celebrate, I wish you a happy, healthy, and sweet New Year.
That's exactly right.
Which is very important this time of year. Brian, it was unbelievable having you on the show. Please seek him out and read his bylines. He's amazing. Get his novels. And again, Todd Cohen, I'm with Marcus and Millre. You can reach me at 786-522-7021 anytime. I'll answer any of your commercial real estate questions.
Great point. Monday and Tuesday are the Jewish New Year's. I want to wish everyone a happy and healthy New Year. Even if you're not Jewish, you should have a great day and a great New Year ahead of you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Brian, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We know how busy you are. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great week.